Love is a promise, a vow taken in trust and faith. But what happens when that vow is broken? Here at Broken Vows, we share the real, unfiltered stories of women who have faced the ultimate betrayal and found the strength to navigate the darkness. These are stories of heartbreak, but also of resilience and rebirth. It was a Tuesday, a completely ordinary, forgettable Tuesday. Sarah was scrolling through Facebook, waiting for the lasagna to finish baking. The smell filled their cozy suburban home, a scent of happy family life she had cultivated for 25 years. Her friend Carol had tagged her in a memory, a picture from a church picnic years ago. Smiling, she clicked on Carol's profile, and that's when she saw it. A comment on Carol's latest post from a woman she'd never heard of, Jessica Miller. The comment was innocent enough, but Sarah's eyes snagged on the profile picture. It was a group photo, a blurry shot from a local charity run, and in the background, unmistakable even in the poor quality, was her husband, Tom. His arm was wrapped tightly around the blonde Jessica Miller. They weren't just standing next to each other, they were a unit. A wave of ice water washed over Sarah, right there in her warm, fragrant kitchen. The lasagna could burn. The world had just tilted on its axis. The picture of perfection. To anyone looking in, Sarah and Tom were the gold standard. They'd met in college, married young, and built a life that was the envy of their friends. Their two-story colonial home in a quiet Ohio suburb had a perfectly manicured lawn and a porch swing where they'd spent countless summer evenings. Sarah had chaired the PTA, organized bake sales for the church, and volunteered at the local library. Tom was a successful sales executive, a provider who coached their son's Little League team and never missed their daughter's dance recitals. Their children, now teenagers, were bright and well-adjusted. Family photos lined the hallway mantelpiece, a gallery of smiling faces from Disney vacations, Christmases, and graduations. It was a life built on shared history, mutual respect, and what Sarah had always believed was unwavering love. She trusted Tom completely. He was her rock, her partner in everything. The thought of infidelity was something that happened to other people, something you read about or saw in movies. It wasn't something that could ever touch her perfect, carefully constructed world. The trust was so absolute, she never felt the need to question a late night at the office or a weekend business trip. Why would she? She had no reason to. The first crack. The photo was a crack in the foundation of her perfect life. At first, she tried to rationalize it. It's a mistake, a coincidence. Maybe he just ran into her there. But the way his hand rested on her waist, the familiar tilt of his head as he laughed at something she'd said, it was proprietary. It was intimate. That night, when Tom came home, he kissed her cheek and asked what was for dinner, just like any other day. She couldn't bring herself to mention it. She felt a cold knot of fear in her stomach. What if she was wrong? She'd look like a fool, a jealous, insecure wife. So she began to watch. She noticed things she'd previously ignored. The way he angled his phone away from her, the new password on his laptop, the business dinners that seemed to happen more and more frequently. He had bought new, more expensive cologne. He'd joined a gym, suddenly concerned with his physique after years of contentment. Each observation was a small cut. She felt a growing unease, a constant low level of anxiety. She started losing sleep, replaying moments and conversations, searching for clues she might have missed. One evening, a credit card bill arrived. She opened it, a routine task, but there it was, a charge for a hotel 100 miles away On a weekend, he was supposed to be at a conference in the opposite direction. The crack widened into a chasm. The unraveling truth. The hotel charge was the proof she couldn't ignore. Her hands shaking, Sarah returned to Facebook. She typed Jessica Miller into the search bar. There were many, but she found the right one quickly. Her profile was public. Sarah felt like she was trespassing, peering into a life she was never meant to see. Jessica was 28, a personal trainer. Her page was a collage of gym selfies, nights out with friends, and inspirational quotes. And then she found it, an album titled Summer Fun. Her breath caught in her throat. There were dozens of photos. Jessica and Tom at a lakeside cabin, Jessica and Tom clinking wine glasses on a restaurant pizza patio, Jessica wearing Tom's favorite university sweatshirt, the one she had bought him for their 20th anniversary. In every photo, he looked happier, more alive than she had seen him in years. He was a different man. It wasn't just a fling. It was a whole other life. A life lived in parallel to the one he had with her. The bake sales, the PTA meetings, the quiet evenings on the porch swing, it all felt like a sham, a stage play for an audience of one. She scrolled for what felt like hours, each photo a fresh stab of betrayal. She saw comments from his work friends, people she knew, leaving winking emojis and telling them they made a cute couple. Her world wasn't just tilting anymore, it was crumbling to dust around her. The woman in the mirror was a stranger, a fool who had been living a lie. The shattering confrontation. Sarah didn't sleep that night. She sat in the dark of their living room, the glow of her laptop illuminating the tear tracks on her face. When Tom came downstairs the next morning, ready for work in his crisp suit, she found him there, waiting. She didn't have to say a word. He saw the laptop, open to Jessica's Facebook page. The color drained from his face. The silence was heavy, suffocating. Who is she, Tom? Sarah's voice was quiet, dangerously calm. He started with the usual denials. She's just a friend, you're misunderstanding. But Sarah was done with lies. She turned the laptop to face him, clicking through the photos one by one. The cabin, the restaurant, the sweatshirt. With each click, his denials grew weaker until they faded into a mumbled confession. He told her it had been going on for 2 years. He said he was unhappy, that they had grown apart. He used every cliché she had ever heard. The words washed over her, meaningless noise against the roar of her pain. It wasn't about unhappiness, it was about deceit. 2 years of calculated lies, of looking her in the eye while living another life. The fight was ugly. Decades of resentment and unspoken truths came pouring out. She screamed, she cried, she felt a rage she never knew she was capable of. The family photos on the mantel seemed to mock her. By the end of it, the house felt hollow. Tom packed a bag and left. Just like that, 25 years of marriage ended, not with a bang, but with the quiet click of a closing door, rising from the ashes. The aftermath was a blur of pain. Telling the children was the hardest thing she had ever done. Their confusion and anger mirrored her own. The divorce was messy and draining. Neighbors whispered and friends took sides. Sarah felt isolated, adrift in the ruins of her life. Some days, just getting out of bed felt like a monumental achievement. She started seeing a therapist, a kind woman who let her sit in silence when the words wouldn't come. Slowly, painfully, Sarah began to process the grief and the betrayal. She learned to separate Tom's actions from her own self-worth. His infidelity wasn't a reflection of her inadequacy. It was a reflection of his own brokenness. She started taking small steps. She redecorated the living room, taking down the old family photos and putting up art that she loved. She joined a book club, took a pottery class, and reconnected with friends she had drifted away from. She found joy in her own company for the first time in years. There was no dramatic revenge, no finding a handsome new husband overnight. The healing was quiet, internal, and profound. She was no longer just a wife or a mother. She was Sarah. And for the first time, that felt like enough.